Today, I want to talk to you about an old skit, but a great skit. How old is this skit? Well, I think it was old. I think that Franz Anton Mesmer probably did this skit, and he probably learned it from somebody else. It's that old. However, it is a great skit. It can be used on the street, on the stage, when doing presentations. It's great to use at a party. It's just a wonderful, funny skit. So here's the way it works. You say to your deeply hypnotized person, I say deeply hypnotized because this requires a positive hallucination, which means you need a nice deep trance. So you say to your subject that when I give you the signal, whether it's snapping the fingers or whether you say when you open your eyes or when I say a keyword or something like that, you will suddenly realize that I am the most attractive, desirable person you've ever seen in your life. And then you trigger it, and suddenly that person just falls in love with you. They just think you are the most beautiful, gorgeous, handsome, whatever person they've ever seen in their life. And they will really show all the signs of being in the presence of someone who's the most beautiful or handsome person they've ever seen in their life. And it can be very funny. And then you can say when I trigger or when I give you another trigger, snap my fingers or something like that, I suddenly become the most ugly person you've ever seen in your life. And when you do that, when you trigger it, whether it's a finger snap or whatever, suddenly they want to get away from you because you really are awful looking. And it is amazing to see the change in the subject from believing you're the most beautiful person they've ever seen in their life to, ooh, you are the ugliest person they have ever seen in their life. The change in their demeanor, in just everything is very obvious. And it can be a funny skit. As a matter of fact, there are many different ways that you can do this skit. And that's what I want to talk about today. So one of my mentorship students sent me a video to review this week. And he did this skit, and he did it in a convenience store, and kudos to him. It was a really hard place to do any kind of hypnosis. People were coming in and out of the convenience store. It was loud. There were distractions. Telephones were ringing, but he did it, and kudos to him. So one of the things, though, that has always been a concern of mine when I'm doing street hypnosis or stage hypnosis is when I do this skit and the person suddenly falls in love with me, I need to make sure that it doesn't go too far, because sometimes when they see you as the most attractive person they've ever seen in their life, they get a little bit frisky. Why is this a problem? Well, what about a jealous husband or boyfriend in the audience? You can see that could be an issue. That's why I am very careful about the way I do this skit. Now, my mentorship student, to his credit, the way he did it was he was on one side of the counter from the cashier that he had hypnotized. And so when he said, when he gives her the trigger and she suddenly changes because she's looking at this gorgeous guy, he has the counter between them, which I thought was extremely clever. So there was no chance of this getting out of hand. And it was so funny, though, and hopefully I'm going to get in touch with him and see if he'll let me link to his video, because it's excellent and I want you to see it. Anyway, it is so funny to see this lady's reaction, because her whole demeanor changes and she suddenly is in love and starts to flirt and tries to fix her hair and just look as attractive back to him, because he's really handsome. And it's funny because she actually says, when she finds out that he says he's new in town, and she just invites him to come by and we can chat anytime, and it's really kind of funny. He does this really great, and hopefully he'll let me link to it, so you might see that in a couple of days. Now, as I said, you have to be a little bit careful because you don't want this skit to get out of hand, and he handled it really beautifully. Now, Mark Savard, a really outstanding Vegas hypnotist, Mark does it a different way, and I wanted to mention this to you. What he does is he will pick two ladies in his committee, and he will choose one lady who is very ordinary looking, sometimes very ordinary looking. And that's the lady who will believe that he's the most handsome, desirable guy she's ever seen in her life. And then he will pick a very attractive woman, and he will tell her that when she gets the signal, she will realize that he is the most ugly person, ugly, disgusting person she's ever encountered. Okay, so this is very, very clever of Mark, because you don't want, as a hypnotist, do not want to come off as somebody who's taking advantage of your power in order to get together with an attractive woman. He purposely chooses the ordinary, sometimes unattractive woman to be the one that falls in love with him, and he chooses the very attractive, hot woman to be the one that thinks he's a pig. And I think that is really clever the way he does it. So one more note about this skit, which I think is it's gold. It's kind of interesting if you think about it. If you think about people with average looks, I'm looking at one right now. When you think of people with average looks, and that's why they call it average, because most of us are pretty average, right? And then there are people who are just drop dead gorgeous. And it's interesting for an average person to trigger this thing and experience what it's like to look like a model. It's really, really interesting. And I could see where it would probably be a disadvantage in some instances. But, sometimes it's kind of cool to see what life would be like if you were drop dead gorgeous. And as a hypnotist, you could do that when you do this skit. So once again, deeply hypnotized person, you say, when I give you the trigger, you will believe that I'm the most handsome or pretty person you've ever met in your life. And then you do it and suddenly become that person. And you also set it up so that when I snap my fingers or do something else, give you another signal, I will suddenly become really unattractive. And as I say, there are many, many ways you can do this skit, and it's fun. Just don't let it get out of hand. Okay, well, this is Sean Michael Andrews, and I will be back again soon. Thanks for watching.
Would you like to learn how to do this? Go to worldsfastesthypnotist.com.